So, this is the Xiaomi Mi Pad 3, an incredibly exciting and interesting tablet. And just before we get into why you might want to buy this guy, I'm also going to be giving it away. So be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, and when this video hits 3,000 likes, I'll announce the winner in the comments below. With that being said, let's get started. So, the Mi Pad 3 will net you about $270, which, considering what it has on its specification sheet, is not a lot of money. But let's start with how it feels. The Mi Pad 3, to begin with, one of the first things you're going to notice is just how slim it is. At just 7mm, and to be honest at not a particularly large weight, it feels very nice in the hand. It's heavy enough to be comfortable, it's got a nice even weighting, but at the same time it's light enough so that you can easily hold it in one hand. It feels distinctly simple and elegant, and the metallic finish gives it a splash of luxury. Unfortunately though, the finish isn't exactly the best in terms of durability. Having been very careful with it over the last 2 weeks, it still managed to get a small dent on the back and a little scratch on the top. The display is pretty similar to last year's Mi Pad 2, but nonetheless remarkable for the price. You're getting a fantastic resolution. This is a really good tablet for playing games on, looking at photos. And on top of that, some pretty nice slim bezels. Unfortunately, the 4:3 aspect ratio does mean that traditional video is not going to fill the screen. There is an option to enlarge it so that it does, but then you're losing a lot of information and quality from the sides. Nonetheless, it's a bright, punchy and colourful experience. Really good display. So under the hood is where the Mi Pad 3 has been significantly bolstered since its last iteration. We've got a hexa-core CPU as well as 4GB of RAM. And let's just say this is a really good tablet for gaming. Whilst the GPU performance hasn't really improved so much since the last generation, the CPU is significantly faster. Surprisingly as well, compared to the last generation Intel Atom processor that the Mi Pad 2 used, the Mi Pad 3 doesn't have any of the app compatibility issues that one had. Now the extra RAM is also useful. It helps games which have higher quality textures render them faster, so all in all results in better frame rates. This shouldn't be mistaken for top quality performance. You'll be able to run almost every game, but you won't necessarily get the highest frame rates. There's quite a large disparity between the graphics capability of this tablet versus something like the latest iPad. But to be honest, just the larger screen in itself makes games far more enjoyable when compared to your mobile phone. Now even when you're not using it for gaming, the new CPU isn't going to waste. It's far more efficient than the last generation, and also combined with a larger battery means you can get about 2 days of solid use out of this. It's also on paper very powerful, and it's used well to make the MIUI operating system feel very fast and responsive. And to be very honest, I'm not the biggest advocate of MIUI at all. I feel like in almost every case, stock Android just works better. But to be honest, on the Mi Pad 3, it just works. Throughout using the tablet, I couldn't help but feel like this is what MIUI is made for. It's not only fast and responsive, but everything seems quite well optimized to the 7.9-inch screen size. From being able to interact with widgets without opening up separate applications, from really taking advantage of the screen size and spreading out information across it, this no longer feels like a half-baked package. It's also based off Android 7.0, which, fair enough, isn't the latest operating system, but is as good as we could have expected. There are some built-in apps, some of them not particularly useful, but nonetheless there aren't so many that it becomes burdensome, and generally they're actually pretty well done. Now, whilst the camera has received quite a lot of upgrades since the last generation, if you are into your photography and you do plan to take photos with your tablet, this is not an option to go for. In the absolute best lighting conditions, it's not terrible. It's got a decent amount of detail and an acceptable amount of bokeh, but to be honest, both in terms of shutter and focus times, it's a bit on the slow side. Now, my hunch is this is almost definitely due to software optimization, or lack of. There are smartphones and tablets that are far less capable than the Mi Pad 3, but still manage to put together a better result. So whilst this could be patched in an update, I would definitely err on the side of caution if you do care about the camera. In terms of video, it's not a particularly high resolution affair, and the poor electronic image stabilization sometimes makes the video look even shakier than it would be without it. Aside from the camera, it's worth bearing in mind that the Mi Pad 3 actually has dual stereo speakers. Unfortunately, the positioning could be better, they're both on the back, but nonetheless it does create a decent stereo effect. They're rather loud and actually convey vocals very well if you're listening to music, and games come across quite nicely too. They are still a little bit lacking in bass, but nonetheless that's pretty forgivable. So guys, that's the Mi Pad 3, and to be honest, for the most part it's a fantastic value proposition. For about $270, you're getting a tablet that for the most part looks and feels like something that costs twice as much. It's incredibly slick, comfortable to hold, and has a beautiful screen and enough power to do some good stuff with it. It doesn't have an SD card, the aspect ratio can get in the way, and the camera is just awful. But putting those things aside, especially for those people who don't want to use the camera at all, this is an incredible tablet that I can thoroughly recommend. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, rules are in the description. And with that being said, I'm Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'm signing out.